So, as you can already tell from the title, I did not finish my last semester of nursing school. I failed my final management of care HESI by 26 points. And so it's still new, it's fresh, so I'm still processing it. I took my HESI B because they give you 2 attempts on Wednesday, April 21st, and I flew out the country Friday, April 23rd, and I've been gone ever since, just to regroup, get my mind right, figure out if there's something I want to keep continuing to do, because it's just been a long road for me with school, period. It's been about 9 years since I've been in college on and off, with working and raising nieces and nephews and just trying to figure out what I wanted out of life. So a little backstory. I graduated high school in August of 2012, May of 2012, and started down at U of I, Urbana-Champaign, August of 2012. My initial major was public health and law. Under the UIUC curriculum, that fell under the Agriculture and Consumer Economics College, so College of ACES. So I started off down there with the notion of I wanted to go into law to advocate for people. I wanted to help people. And I didn't know anything about majors and minors and colleges and different departments of the university. My high school counselor was just like, you applied, you got in, you're going. And so I really went down there not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but I figured it was law because I wanted to advocate for other people. And so I started down there, and immediately when I started taking my courses for the ACES curriculum, there were a lot of macroeconomics. And in those classes, I realized just how big Illinois was and just how much agriculture people grow up around. Like one time, one of the instructors had mentioned, if your father is trading a cow, and you know that cows normally go for this around this time of year, blah, 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 and the students were answering back, and I'm just looking like, cows? Who's trading cows? So I knew then kind of I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I just saw the public health, public law, and I figured, okay, that's what I want to do, but nobody told me about the major minor system. And so I spent about 2 years there on and off because I couldn't keep up with the classes and the course loads for that particular program. And so after about 2.5 years, I just decided, come home, figure out what exactly I wanted to do. That wasn't it. And so I came home, started working, making sure my family was straight. Because when I first went off to school, my mom was facing eviction. Like literally, she sent me off that August. By that November, my family was living on the streets. And so I always had that notion of, I have to help my mom, provide for, my sisters and my nieces and nephews. And so I was always working throughout college. I've always had a job because I had to have one. And so just trying to balance work and school, knowing that I didn't really want to be down there, kind of sent me back home to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. And fortunately, I was able to start at Truman. And I thought, okay, maybe I should do education. I still, can advocate, I can teach, things like that. So I started at Truman with special ed. And I didn't have a job during that time because I just wanted to get back into the flow of going to school. And so one of my career counselors had told me about this job at Misericordia Heart of Mercy. And I had never heard of it. I didn't grow up around healthcare workers. Most of my families are educators. So I wasn't oblivious to the nursing profession, but I just never thought it would be for me because I thought that I wasn't good at math and science. And I always thought that, I just wouldn't excel at it. So I didn't even think twice about, studying it. But I started at Misericordia, which is a long-term care facility for people with intellectual disabilities, and just learning how to care for people as a direct service professional, which is under a CNA. You don't do any glucose or any vitals, just pure ADLs. I kind of fell in love with the notion of helping others. And I felt like it was my calling because my first week of training, they train you for 5 weeks, so they give you the DSP through the facility. And so during that training, my great-grandmother had went into the hospital. She had another stroke, and she ended up having to go to a nursing home or rehabilitation center. But at that nursing home, she developed a stage 5 pressure ulcer. And so she ended up passing away from the infection of that ulcer. But when I went to see her the last time, she ended up coming home. Her last weekend, she did spend at home with family, even though she wasn't. She was there, but my grandma wasn't there. Me and my mom were fortunate enough to go over there and help my aunt, change her. And that was the first time I had actually changed another human being outside of a baby. So I was honored that I was able to do that for my grandmother before she passed. We went over there that Friday, and my grandmother passed on that Sunday. And so I looked at nursing differently. I looked at it as something that I needed to investigate because my grandmother was a strong woman. She battled breast cancer twice and fought it, beat it. And that was her second CVA. So I was just wondering, how could a woman who beat breast cancer twice, as well as 2 strokes, die from a bed sore? I didn't know anything about pressure ulcers or the seriousness of them. I just knew that my grandmother was gone, and this nursing home was the last place, that she was seen, fully there. And so I started working at Misericordia. I stayed there for about 2 years, and while I finished up my studies at Truman. It worked for me because I was able to work overnight and go to school during the day. So I would work 11 to 7 and then go to school from 8 to 12. And that whole 2 years, it was pretty much okay. I didn't have any conflicts or issues. Fast forward to my last semester at Truman, I want to say this was spring 2017. I realized that I wasn't going to be able to complete my studies and finish working. I was trying to find jobs with my associates of education. I wanted to be a TA for CPS, but unfortunately they just weren't hiring people. They had a hiring freeze. And so I was encouraged to go get my CNA because my DSP, I couldn't really take it anywhere. Nobody really hires DSPs outside of select facilities throughout the state. So I was encouraged to go get my CNA just to have some job security while I tried to figure out what my next plans were. And so I got my CNA, and I was fortunate enough to start working at Illinois Masonic as a nursing care tech on the CV unit. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't too big on dead set on nursing just yet because I still didn't know too much about it, but just working with some amazing people there, I found a new appreciation for nursing. And so under the mentorship of my then manager, I applied to Chicago State for the nursing program. I wasn't going to do nursing even then. I was applying for health information administration, but my manager was like, yeah, I'm not writing you a recommendation letter for that because I want to make sure you have a job when you get out. So I'm glad she did that, and I went ahead and changed the application to nursing and got in, but I had to take my prereq, so I was pre-nursing. So I didn't have any sciences under my belt. Like I said, I always thought that I wasn't good at math and science, so I stuck with the liberal arts. And took all my prereqs, came through that, got accepted into the program, started, fall 2019. And my first semester, the first day of our orientation, they gave us the whole spiel on nursing and how hard it is and what we're going to have to do and give up. And so I was all set and ready to go with that. And right before we left for the first day, one of the instructors had told us to look up all the clinical sites and kind of Google map them from our house to see how long it would take us to get to all of them. And I've never had a reliable car or transportation. I kind of relied on family members to let me use their vehicles to get back and forth to places. And so when she had us Google map, she said, homework, Google map all of the clinical locations. I came back and let her know that, I can go pretty much anywhere but Olympia Fields because I don't have a car or transportation. And she told me, this is nursing. You're going to have to sacrifice, figure out something, decide what you want to do, switch, whatever. So I went around asking if they wanted to switch. Nobody, of course, wanted to switch because it was an evening shift and all the way out in Olympia Fields. And so I was kind of just stuck out there. They give us a U-Pass through Chicago State, but the U-Pass did not work on Metro, so I ended up having to pay an additional $200 to travel there, and I still was not at the clinical site. It was about 2 miles down, but thankfully one of my classmates offered to come pick me up and take me back to the train station, so at least I had a way to get there and get back to the train. The unfortunate thing was we got out at sometimes 10, 11 at night, and so I was kind of stranded out there because the trains only ran every 2 hours after a certain time. And so I'm sitting out there in Olympia Fields like, okay, you know what, God, maybe this isn't for me. It's too hard. I don't know if I can do this. Am I going to be safe? But thankfully, I was protected. I got back to the south side sometimes at midnight, and I would have to walk through Palmer Park to get to my bus stop. And so that was interesting because there are a lot of homeless men who sleep and hang out and drink in Palmer Park. So I faced a lot of sexual harassment during that time, but God kept me, so I thank him for that. So first semester wrapped up, and I'm like, okay, I made it through that. It should be smooth sailing now. I'm good to go. And so second semester came, and everything was going good up until midterms. I was staying with family members who kind of were controlling, and if you didn't do something that they wanted you to do, they would threaten to take something from you or put you out. So beginning of the semester, everything was fine. I was able to use their car, get back and forth. I was at Olympia Field, so this time I had a car to get back and forth, but then the controlling things started coming in, and so I just refused to, comply with being controlled. As long as I'm being respectful and doing what I'm supposed to do, it should be okay, but people always want more from you. And so when I said my final no, they were like, okay, well, you have to leave. And so I did leave. I went to take my pharmacology midterm the same week that the global order went out. So I want to say the week of March, my birthday, March 6, 2020. The global order went out March 13, 2020. In that time frame from March 6, my birthday, until March 13th, I was put out. I went to take my pharmacology midterm knowing that I was basically homeless, but I still, braved up, enough strength to be able to take that final. And thankfully we went online after that so I could kind of, just figure out where I was going to stay at. And I was like, okay, I made it through that. So now I should be okay, right? Next semester. Summer semester was kind of okay because I was working, so I was able to, just pay people to stay with them during that time. But fall semester came, and I had to stop working because of the course load. It just wouldn't work with my school schedule. My working school schedule just wouldn't work, and so I chose school. You're always going to have to choose in nursing school, and I've always chosen school. And so I went through fall semester, got through that. By the grace of God, we were given, because I failed my HESI A and B for the maternity class of fall 2020 as well. But by the grace of God, we were given another chance to take that HESI, and I was able to study and pass it. So when I made it through that, I took that lesson learned, and I just really hit hard this last semester in January. I bought my books like literally January 1st, started looking through things, doing my evolved case studies, doing my EAQs, looking through Lippincott resources, and also, just trying to teach myself and others. Everything was going good up until my leadership HESI. We took the first one April 5th, and I wasn't successful. So I'm like, okay, I got 2 weeks to make it up. I'll just remediate. I'll remediate. And then we had a HESI live review, like literally 3 days before our HESI B. So I'm like, okay, I know I'll be able to, get what I need to get to pass it. I remember on the first HESI A for leadership, there were fire questions. Like I had caught a lot of fire questions and I didn't get those right. So it was a part of my remediation plan. And so that following week, Saturday, we had our HESI live review, April 16th, 17th, and 18th. April 17th, 2021, my house caught on fire. So as we're doing the live review, I'm trying to put the fire out in my house, as well as remediate, as well as pay attention to what's going on in the review. And so I just looked at that experience like, okay, God, now I know if I get a fire question, I'm going to know how to answer it, because my mom came running to me like, Faith, what do we do? And I'm immediately race, cool, gather fire extinguisher and everything. So I'm like, okay, I know I got this in the bag. And would you know, there was not one fire question on my HESI B, not one. And I think that if there would have been at least one question on my HESI B, I would be graduating right now. So that's hard, but everything happens for a reason. Like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. So I'm just going to take this experience to enhance my learning, enhance myself, because I can't blame anybody else. I feel like we were given as much tools that we could have been given with online learning. So I'm really just hoping and praying that, I can come back and finish this final class and finally graduate. It sucks not being able to graduate now, but I think that me being here on the beach is pretty much helping with that. I will have to face reality once I go home, but for right now, I'm just accepting it for what it is. And I just want to encourage all of you, like, if you're in nursing school right now and you're watching this, learn from my mistakes. Study early, study smart. If you're like me, having to sit out a semester or stand behind a semester, it's not the end of the world. It just gives you more time to be that amazing nurse that you are going to be. For me, though, I don't know, because with everything that's happened in these 9 years since I've been in school, first of all, federal government, like, girl, no. You either come back for a graduate loan or you're paying out of pocket, because we're not paying again. So I'm kind of in that situation where I've maxed out pretty much everything. So I'm not sure if I should try to fight and continue on. And let me know in the comments what you think. Think I should just give it up? It's been 9 years. Let it go. Tell me. You think that I should keep going? Let me know. At this point, I'm kind of like ready to, just give it up. Like, I feel like if you keep hitting at something, you can strike too hard and strike out. So I think I'm kind of at that point where I don't know if it's something I need to continue doing just to get the same results. I feel like that Geico commercial that you almost had it. So I don't know if I should keep going, but I would definitely want to encourage all of you all who are watching to follow your dreams, do what you need to do to get out here and get in this world and make a difference. So thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed my little mini travel vlog. It's been amazing here, just taking my mind off everything. I don't want to go home. I'm supposed to leave tomorrow. I've changed my flight like twice already. So we'll see, but thank you. Bye.